Okay. Excellent connection. Oh, I didn't even know you could monitor it that way. Oh, that helps. All right. Start with warm-up exercises as usual. Is it supposed to be like zoomed in like that? Or not zoomed in, but cropped? Because I feel like I'm missing part of the screen. Oh well. Oops. Oops. Never-ending 5 minutes, as usual. I start out with those like the right hand warm ups like that. Like I would never really play like that in like practice, but or in real life I should say, but like it helps to get like the fingers moving and feel comfortable with the string spacing and everything on the guitar. So I do like little things like that. And it's the first time picking up the guitar this morning, so it's always knocking the rust off from 12 or so hours ago, maybe like 15 hours ago. So let's do like a slide exercise, warm up. So I'm gonna do, I think I did this one last week too, like first fret to the second fret, first fret to the third fret, first fret to the fourth fret. Whoops. I'll just do 60 again. And I'm focusing on the quick slides and just kind of warming up here. Whoops. Ah. No, not the most not really the most practical because you're just kind of doing chromatics, but I find it helps with your just getting accustomed to that quick motion, and then we're only doing very short frets here, so I'll start to add more range, I guess, as we go, but whoops. Oh. Oh man, these warm-ups are rough. Ooh, 5 minutes, never ending. man. Yeah, it's still coming through. Just checking. Whoops. All right. All right. That's about 5 minutes. About, but close enough. So, I'm gonna do a little bit more of one more exercise with the, so I'm gonna be posting a video. I think it's coming out this week of the warm-up exercise. I think is the most practical and useful, which is the playing this one note on each string, finding that note on each string, and then like moving throughout the fretboard to find it on each string, and then moving between the strings. So like I did F last week. I'm gonna change it, but just to do a quick demo before that, I was doing like 70. So let's just do that. Whoop. So we're F, 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 F. Yeah. Makes you think. Ah. I mean, I could probably, let me see something. Let's slow it down a little bit. I don't think that's gonna happen yet. So let me pick a different note, something that would be annoying. It's gonna do like, I'm gonna do E flat. I hope I didn't knock my interface out. Okay, I'm gonna try E flat now and see. You know, let me check one thing with this. Can I reset 128720? Yeah, I mean, I guess we're at the max space here, so alright, whatever. I'm trying to see why it looks like it's like cropped a bit, because I noticed that when I was editing it too. I'm like, is it not centered in the? Yeah, alright, I'll have to play around with that after. Alright, so let me see. I'm gonna try E flat because that was one that I wanted to do just to get practice on, because that's a note you rarely play. Let me just see something. Oops. this is gonna be a workout. All right. Oh man, it's coming up. The 6th string keeps screwing up. Need work on this one. Ooh. Wow. Man, that was rough. Need to work on that, that's for sure. E flat, definitely not in my arsenal yet. All right, so it's enough warming up. I want to get more into like something different than just warm-ups and stuff and dry stuff, so something more practical now. So slide chords, I'm in E standard tuning. I have a couple videos about this, like chords and standard tuning, but I feel like this is something that's not really talked about that much because a lot of people don't really bother to learn in standard tuning. I think it's helpful though, for just really working your technique. Like you got to be really good with your picking and muting and stuff. And at the same time though, I think for me it was easier just because I didn't have to. I do play in open tuning sometimes, but it was frustrating to have to kind of relearn the fretboard. So like going straight in with and just committing to the standard tuning just made it easier for what's going on here, and I could focus on just slide technique. So some of the chords. I hope my interface doesn't keep turning off while I'm doing this, so I hear it popping. So as an example, we'll just start with a minor chord. So not always the easiest to do in the open tunings either. Those are more favorable to the major chords or even just like the power chords. So I think standard tuning, you can do some slide minor chords. So as an example, if we wanted to play an A minor, like we could take the bar chord. That'll be a good way to describe this, I think. So A minor, you'd, bar the 5th fret. And then you'd have your E on the 5th string, 7th fret, another A on the 7th fret, the 4th string. Pretty standard A minor bar chord here. And when we're looking at slide, we want to see, okay, where can we play, the notes of the chord, or as many as we can, and where do they line up in one fret. So in an E standard tuning, you take that minor chord, you do have this bar here that's being played on the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st string, and these are related to the A minor chord. So you got your G, C, E, and A. You're just basically playing that bar chord. You're just, kind of, I guess what I like to do when it's A minor, it kind of lines up nicely. So you can play that open for the 5th string rather than playing it here, because it's the same note. This is an A, this is an A. Trying to do the same chord fretted. You're getting an extra, I guess maybe this is more of like a 7th chord. Would it be? Minor 7? Because you do have the G. I'm terrible with theory, but it works though. So you're trying to do that minor chord, A minor, 5th fret. Play those all in line. If you got like if your slide is, long enough to cover all the strings, so you could Mine doesn't do it that well, but you can actually, you wouldn't really need to for A, but like if you wanted to play B minor, you wouldn't get, I'm going to do the same shape just up in the 7th fret for the B minor. You know, you don't have an open bass note to play necessarily, but if you got, you know, a long enough slide, you can cover up that B there and you'd get your bass note too. So I know when I used to use like the glass slides, that one had a little bit more meat and like thickness on it to be able to get that. The bass notes don't ring out as well, I find, when I'm chording with this slide, but so it doesn't sound as nice there, but that's probably just from my limitations there. So minor chord, and you know, I'm not gonna be able to necessarily explain too much of the theory of why this works, but I know it does work. I'm not like qualified to do that necessarily, but this is also a C. If you think of that bar chord, just in this fret I'm talking about, so we're getting a C major as well in there. So that's another way you can play a major chord, because those and I'll even play that first string there too. Now it's kind of hard to see maybe what I'm doing without the slide, but then you add in the bass note, it's also A minor. It's kind of cool, but we're not really worried about that. But I'm showing you can do a major chord in standard tuning. You know, it is harder because you're not going to be able to do those fat, big open chords like you would in the open tuning. Because like for a major, in an open tuning, you could play 5, sometimes 6 of the strings with the slide. It's going to be rare. I don't think I've found where that would work necessarily and in a very musical way yet for standard tuning, but like, you know, to be able to have these options, it's, I think, very, you know, useful regardless. You know, it's not you know, the best thing, but I find it very useful. So, and it beats having to like limit myself into the open tunings. Open tunings are great for but I feel like they have certain applications, and I'm not playing that type of music as much right now. But yeah, so there's your. I'm gonna do maybe a different example of that major one just to give you an idea. So rather than trying to like very poorly explain harmonization and stuff, because I'm not very good at that, but so we got like. Let's just do B major, I guess. You know, think of that bar chord, and you can see we have, you're going to be playing in the 4th fret on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string for that bar chord. And instead of, you know, if you got your pinky slide, you might be able to do all of them, but I can't stretch for this one. But this is your B right there, B major. So major, we got major, minor, and essentially it's the same chord shape, you know. Let's think what else. One of the other ones, it's obviously a little bit more limited to just 2 strings here, but when you're doing like a power chord, you think of like, do A again. A power chord there. I just wouldn't play for slide. I'm just gonna play the 5th and the 4th string there, so you could still do the power chord there. It's pretty cool. And like, you know, if you've got some gain, it'll sound really cool. Like 2 strings, especially on the bass notes, it'll be enough. And then same kind of thing. If you think of the power chord, where you're playing the root note on the 5th string instead of the 6th string, so E. So up in that, was that 9th fret? 9th fret, 4th and 3rd string. So this also, it just kind of takes out that, it's the same shape, it's just you're not playing the 2nd string there, like that same chord we talked about before. So we're just kind of playing 1 and the 5 for a power chord. So E would be also up here if you're going to play. E is nice because you got the bass string in there, the open. Anytime you can have an open string playing, that's, you want to, if you really want to fill out your playing and your sounds, learn how to play, like really take advantage of the open strings everywhere you can. That's something I'm really starting to learn. It really just, first of all, it's just easier. You know, it's less work for you. It's less strings you got to press down. Obviously, you know, not every time you're playing, it's going to, you don't have a, you know, an open string for every chord or note you're playing. But the times when you do, take advantage of it. So definitely learn. I think it's something I try to do is like learn as many ways as possible to play E chords or A chords or D chords, because we've got these open strings. We want to take advantage of them. So having that open string whenever you can, super helpful. So with slide, same thing, like, you know, learning where you can play these kind of bars for E, A, or D, you know. This would be like another major chord. You could play like a D major. This might be a 7th, actually. Yeah, I think it is. But it sounds pretty. A 7th chord will, if you've got a major chord you're playing, throwing in a 7th chord, just, in my opinion, I think it'll work. Unless you're playing like just really strict like rock. So I'm playing, just barring the first 3 string, or sorry, the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string on the 2nd fret. That would be F sharp. But so that's another one. And then you've also got, you know, the first 2 strings. It's a nice little, you want to beef up your playing on the first string, it's not like, I don't want to say it always works, but a lot of times it can work, you know. If I wanted to just play, first of all, this is the power chord. If I were in G minor, let's say, or just G, just playing those two strings in the 3rd fret, that's G power chord. It's the same as like, so you have like a power chord, you know. So G, but like if I was gonna play that lick, you know, something like a, I could also add in the 2nd string when I do that. Just kind of beefs it up, you know. If I had open tuning for the G, that would have been nice to get that open G, but we can do it for A though. Let's just see. But yeah. Now if we want to do minor instead, we'll add in those other strings, still in that 5th fret. power chords definitely make it sound more bluesy, I feel like, but and obviously playing like anything in that pentatonic realm. That was just like noodling, like an A minor kind of funky kind of noodle there. And A obviously gives you that open string, but just showing you throwing in those chords, those kind of bigger, minor chords. And then I was playing sometimes with the F major, G major, and that was the same shape we talked about earlier. This would be this chord for F, 10th fret on the, what am I playing here? 4th, 3rd, 2nd string, and then going up a step, 12th fret, same thing. So F, G, and then get in the A minor. I guess it's like a 7th more, but A minor, it'll work. And then I was throwing in for A also, power chord up here, then doing some licks here. Yeah, and then, obviously everything repeats up here too, so all those same chords will work, but it's pretty cool. Like you can use, I'm in a standard tuning, pretty rare for people to be doing this, and you're still getting to play chords. And like, I've played in, sorry, this thing is so finicky. I played in group. All right, sorry about that. I don't know, this wire doesn't stay like connected sometimes. It's annoying. I gotta figure that out. But so like it's nice to be able to, like not have to worry about switching tunings, and I just find it very like it's a relief kind of to not have to switch guitars or things. And like I think I was talking about like the applications in a band, it still works in that too. Like I've played in a lot of groups where I was playing in standard tuning, and sometimes you don't always want to be playing really big heavy chords. Sometimes you do, but so sometimes it's nice to just just play a couple strings here and there, especially when you got a bigger group with a lot of instruments or other guitars too. So it's useful even if you're in open tunings to know how to play chords with less notes, and not always playing big heavy thick chords like but it depends on the style of music that you're playing, the type of group and everything. But it's always like it's not going to hurt you to learn this. And then so I don't think it's limiting. Some people might say that it's like, okay, you could play the chords, but they're not as nice and they don't line up. They're not as big and open, and it's very true. But I don't think it's as limiting as people would say. But people probably say that when I say that the open tunings are limited, they say though they're not as limited. I'm sure if you know what I mean, if you spent time and committed to an open tuning, you'll figure it out. When I was earlier on getting into slide, I definitely spent a lot more practice time in open G and learned a lot of music in that. Probably that was like the main one I did, and you do get comfortable with it. I just started to lose the interest in having to constantly swap the tunings. Like that was what got really like frustrating. And then like to just not be able to ever, like, it was annoying to have to constantly switch the tunings depending on what song you're playing or the style you're playing. And it was just like, I want to get comfortable in one thing and just prioritize it. And so that was kind of, man, is this doing it again? Keep hearing the popping. So let me do like a major-y one to. I'll do E major. Everything will line up a little bit better, but so we'll go over. So this is the shape on the fifth, fourth, the fourth, third, and second string. I don't know why I screw that up so much. In the ninth fret for E, E major, and then. Oh, you know, I probably should have mentioned too the dominant chord. So, obviously, blues, the dominant chords are very important. So, you kind of have to cheat a little bit for this one if you really want to get the real voicing of it. But we'll stay in E, seventh. I'm going to play. All right. I'm going to play the dominant seventh and the ninth fret. I'm going to use my pinky there and fret. Sorry. It was kind of sloppy, but what I was doing there, I was doing like just a kind of funkier E blues, and then getting like the my pinky. Sorry, my interface is wonking out today. How do I practice all 5 pentatonic scales? All 5. like every key, if it's like every key, like for a pentatonic scale, honestly, I could give you the very dry and boring answer and just say play to a metronome and just drill it, you know. The 5 shapes. I mean, I'm not even sure necessarily I don't know if I have all the 5. Um, in terms of like, do I know what I'm doing with it? But if you're trying to learn anything, I mean, it sucks like that this has to be the way, but it kind of is the way. I would just, if you know what they are, just kind of drill them, you know, set the metronome and just play them. I mean, when you're looking at a pentatonic scale, there's what, 5 notes, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm in A. Just kind of, if you think about 5 notes, you'd have to like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for this because I didn't really learn it this way, in terms of the 5 shapes, so I don't exactly know how to. I would need to see kind of what your interpretation of 5 shapes would be. Like, are you talking about like so like as you're going up the fretboard, are you talking about? I don't even know if it's still here. Oh, okay. So again, like what I would say is I mean, it really, how I would do it, I would literally set a metronome and take that pattern, and then, so wherever you're getting stuck, let's just say. So, I don't know, it's hard to tell, you know. I think I add an extra note in there, sorry. So I would take a pattern. So like I was getting stuck definitely once I got to the 2nd and 3rd string there. Kind of play around with whatever pattern you were trying to learn. So let's just say as you're running through that, you got kind of stuck, you know, on the, I don't even know what pattern I was. You get stuck on like, because it starts to, you know, it doesn't all line up necessarily. So like in that 9th fret on the 3rd string. And then, so if you get stuck kind of at this point, let's just say, you really kind of have to set the metronome, or how I would do it, I should say. Not everyone likes doing this. I completely understand that though. I would break down this pattern that you're doing, this, and break it up into chunks. and just drill that one little piece as an example. I know this might not be what's tripping you up, but you know. So, you know, you're taking the chunks that, like, working on the stuff that's, you know, tripping you up versus, you know, okay, let's just say you have the first kind of, that part, it's kind of already there. You're already good with it. It's more once you get up. Right there, starts to where you start to get tripped up. I would just kind of analyze. So, like, you could record yourself, the pattern you're trying to play, see where you're getting, you know, listen back, or if it's a video, watch back, and then see where you're getting tripped up, and then take that piece that's tripping you up and practice that. And like, in terms of like, you know, how to practice all the shapes, I think it would just be good to learn that pattern, or at least have it, if you do it in tabs or in music, get that pattern and have it, you know, out in front of you, and then just try to play it. You can start slow. I think the metronome helps. Some people are against it, but I think it's useful because it kind of can anchor you into a tempo rather than kind of just noodling through it. And then start slow with the metronome, figure out where you're good, where you're, you know, tripping up. And I think that's how I would do it. And yeah, like, I know that I get a lot of questions, and that's something I always think about, like, is there a shortcut to it? I personally don't. Like, I just kind of, I would do it that way at this point. That was like definitely something that was nice, just learning over the years. Like, there's not really going to be a shortcut to things, so like, just focus on the things that are tripping you up. There's probably things that you're good at already, or things that you have in better capacity. So like, with the time that you have, it's better to focus that time on, you know, the weaker parts of your playing. Improv tips. Let's see. I mean, I could say just to play more. I think, like, it depends. So like, what kind of music are you after? Like, improv in general, I think it's something I think can help is working on your rhythm. So like, your ability to play the notes when you want to play them. So I like to, so rock and metal, you definitely are going to have more, maybe not more need necessarily, but like probably a want, just if you're into that kind of music, to play a lot of notes. I think rhythmically you can do a lot with just one note. So like, if your problem is, you know, trying to get a repertoire of like licks and things, something I definitely did a lot, and I still do, is playing along to, like, if there's an artist that you really like or you're really into, playing, like, find like a recording or a track that you really like, or if you're looking at just the solo, like the guitar solo section or something, playing along to it. And you're not necessarily transcribing it. I didn't really ever do that. But playing along to it and just kind of even just noodling along to the track. So whatever your favorite guitar solo is, or like if you're into like jam music or something, whatever like version of the song you're really into, get into the jam section of it, and just kind of noodle along with it. And you know, I find that I will start to kind of pick up on the like the nuance of the way the guitarist is playing, and chances are you probably like the way they play. So you'll start to pick up. Like, it takes time. Like, it's not like the first time you do it you'll get it, but um, as an example, like I was really into like the Allman Brothers era with Derek Trucks, and there was a lot of these. There was so many of these different versions of these tracks that I really liked. Like, I'm trying to think what was the one. Like, just as an example, Whipping Post, when like Derek Trucks and Warren Haynes, they would just trade solos for like 20 minutes, and I would just literally play that in the background and just kind of noodle along with them, like not necessarily trying to transcribe everything they're doing, because that would, that's a whole crazy exercise in itself, but just literally playing along. So, like, you will start to pick up, like, this is a practice thing, so it's not like you're putting this out or anything. It can sound horrible, and I always sound terrible when I'm doing that kind of thing and practicing, but that's good because you're working on the stuff you got to work on. And that was like something I think helps to just build up your repertoire, getting comfortable, kind of playing along to the stuff, like the type of music that you like. And then, I don't know, I feel like I learned a lot that way. Because then there's these little licks you will pick up from it, these little, phrases and things here and there. It might even just be a 2-note phrase that you pick up, and then you're just like, oh, okay. And I have things to work on. I can add that. The more you have in your repertoire, I think improvising at the end of the day does really kind of just seem like how much like ingrained in you do you have, and you can just play on command. And then there's the whole different aspect of it, just trying to like disconnect and being creative in the moment. That's, I think, like an endless thing that I think I don't even know I could feel comfortable explaining how to do that. Like, I don't even know if I'm qualified to do it necessarily, but like in terms of just adding licks and things to your repertoire that you like, that was definitely something I liked doing, playing along to the recordings that I really liked. I hope that was helpful. If I didn't just rant you out of the room there. Something seems like it popped out of tune. Thank you for commenting. Appreciate that. Sorry, my tuning seems like it is failing me now. Why did that sound so bad? That's better. Yeah, it's actually it's definitely something to think about, like it, and it's a good, improvising is just like I think just the more time the more comfortable you get on your instrument. And I think it's a rhythmic thing too, like being able to just kind of play in time. Like, I guess, I mean, maybe not. I mean, I'm just ranting here, but I found like when like your chops, right? If you get your chops up, you have much more like of a, you know, I just think like it's being able to play what you want to play and then when you want to play it. Like you got to be able to do that, and then I think from there you can have more like just like an ability to kind of just jump right into things and just kind of play, you know. But yeah, it's like that. Improvising is just it's a never-ending process, and it's something that like you're always going to get better at throughout time. And the better you get at your instrument, so for guitar, the better you get at guitar, chances are the better you're going to get at like, um, you know, being able to just play it. You know, your technical ability on the instrument, you have to have, I think, a certain level of that to be able to start to, you know, improvise with things. Otherwise, it's probably good to sit and like just drill things and just get that technical ability on it, because then otherwise you're, you know, it's going to just sound like, you know, free jazz too much, which I guess isn't bad, but like it's, you know, at the end of the day, I think most music styles that have some type of rhythmic element to it that needs to be kind of learned in some way to work with the band. If you're doing just kind of noodling stuff and ambient stuff, then maybe not. Just like kind of learning the notes that you want to play, that would be good. And then like obviously the rhythmic side of it probably wouldn't really matter as long as you're hitting that note that you wanted to at the time, or that phrase you wanted to. Um, yeah, like I mean, tips for other. I'm just gonna rant a little bit more while I'm going. Like other ways you can practice improvising. I use like a loop pedal, or even just backing tracks, and then, you know, some whatever key you like, and then just playing it. You know, just playing over it, or with the looping pedal, just lay down a couple chords that you like or a chord progression, and then just going for it and playing. Um, and I can't tell like how much, you know, like there's definitely a moment where I started to understand improvising was like something I wanted to do more, and I got like better at it. It was like pretty early on too, I think. But you have to have like a, and if you're gonna just sit and like, you know, noodle randomly over things, like you definitely got to put a little bit more work in to get beyond that stage. Otherwise, to at least I think put it out more, you know, like in a group setting, there is like a baseline level of technical ability, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Let's see, one other. Is there anything else I could just rant about? Or should I just save it for the next one? Something I do want to get into more. I haven't figured out the best way to go over it yet for a video, but it's the vibrato technique. The vibrato like technique for, I think I'm more qualified with like the Derek Truck style, like when you have like a wider slide where you have a little bit more. Let's see if there's a way to explain this. Like, you know, it's not kind of just stuck around your finger. This is going to be hilarious. That's what she said. Bit of explanation here, but like if you've got play, so the slide can kind of wiggle around more rather than just being stuck there, you can do a little bit more with the vibrato versus if it's stuck. So like if it's stuck, you're probably going to be doing very rigid vibrato, which there's nothing wrong with it, but when you've got a little bit of play in there, I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, it's got almost like a bee buzzing or something, or like a gnat, versus. And what I'm doing there too, I have my finger like curled. Actually, you know what? Let me do it with the clear one. It might come out a little bit better. So, because you'll be able to see what's going on inside, so it's not. So like, there's like, I think you could do it either way, but like, this was something I noticed Derek Trucks doing. But it was like he has his. So it's on his ring finger, and his finger is curled like this. So it's like he has like his fingertip touching the slide, and there's like a bit that's not, it's kind of angled a bit. Is this visible? Hopefully, I'm trying to monitor it with the latency. So it gives you a little more control maybe over the vibrato. I don't know necessarily. Yeah, I mean, the glass is really nice. Yeah, I think I could explain a little better with this. So like if you don't have that kind of give or the play in the slide, so it's kind of just rigidly there, you're kind of going to be left with having to shake your whole hand like this to do it. But if we give ourselves a little bit of that like curl in the slide, you can get a little bit more, like you can start to feel how the slide will. I don't even know if this is making any sense. I might just be not explaining this well, but so that would be if you were kind of stuck, you'd have to really, you can kind of do like a gentler shake. I think it depends like where you're putting the pressure, but it's, so that technique of like curling your finger in the slide is going to give you a lot more options for your vibrato and like accentuations on your notes and things, and like forgot this one's bulkier. So I'm still working on how to explain this in like a formal video. I don't know if what I did there was enough to be able to use for that, but this is a really interesting aspect to the Derek Trucks style of slide. So what's actually going on is like, if you think of just my ring finger here, if you were fretting the notes, this is more or less how you would have your. So like you can treat your ring finger, just pretend this. So maybe this will make sense. So if you're trying to play slide, sometimes it's hard to grasp on how to, because you're using the slide is covering up more than just the string that you're trying to play. You might have a hard time kind of visualizing what note I'm trying to play at the time. And like when you have your finger curled like this, if you can kind of picture, if you're using your pinky, it's, you would do the same thing for your pinky, but like I'm going to be using my ring finger because that's how I play. Picture just sliding with your slide finger, just without the slide now. See how it's curled, how you would be playing, if you were fretting the note, you would have it kind of curled like that. So your fingertip would play. And when you're using your slide, if you have your... It's easy to do this with the glass. It's going to be harder if you have one like a steel or a metal one, but or even ceramic. But like with the see-through one, you can kind of... It might be a little easier to visualize this. I'm almost in some way thinking about, or I'm probably not thinking about it anymore, but like you're kind of, when you got your finger curled, the tip is kind of where it would be if you were fretting the note, but now I got the glass in between. Now, I don't know if that was intentional on his part. That's how like he thinks about it, or if it's just, this is just how he plays. It doesn't even, but like that kind of curl there is something that's definitely going on with his playing, or at least it was when I was kind of analyzing this a little bit more. So like when I'm playing though, I'm kind of moving, you know, if I'm playing on the first string, I've got the slide kind of down there a little bit more, so my ring finger is actually over just the first string, even the slide is. But like if I'm going up into the higher or the lower strings, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but I'm actually moving the slide up, and my ring finger is actually more or less where it would be if I was trying to fret the notes. We just have the slide over it. And so why am I even bothering with that? Well, you're putting pressure, a little bit of pressure on the string there. And then it's actually, you know, your ring finger wouldn't really be laying down over it. You can play like that. It's not wrong. I just think it can be a little bit cleaner if you're trying to play this type of style. And when you have it just contacting there, for me at least, it feels like I have a little bit more options for the vibrato and a little bit. I'm kind of exaggerating the vibrato a little bit, but kind of sounds like a, you know, the vibrato or tremolo in an amp. See, I'm not really moving my hand that much, like, to do this. Well, I guess you can do it without that too, so maybe that whole part was pointless. But so you get like a little bit extra color on top of it, a little bit extra vibrato on top of it, especially when you're moving around. So I'll try to do it rigidly and then the Derek Trucks way to see if that makes a difference. So if I'm playing, sorry. So we'll do it rigidly. So it's, I'm sure you could probably figure it out either way. All right, probably gonna call it in a bit. I gotta work on, I think, how to explain that a little bit better to make a video to see, because the more that as I'm explaining it, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, because you could probably do it either way. I mean, I guess you could do, it might give you a little bit more freedom, but like I don't think you necessarily have to do it that way. You could still sound like him without doing that. So maybe it was a little. That's one more thing. So. I mean, you could do some cool stuff doing it that way, I guess. It's probably not super important, though. Or, like, it's not like the end of the world if you don't do that, but I tend to find having that a little bit of extra play in the slide gives me a little bit more ability to express a little bit more in the sound versus if I'm rigid. Like, when I'm using the mag slide, it's got, it's just, it has a smaller diameter, I guess. So I can do some of it, but I can't quite get as good with this. And I think the glass just sounds a little bit better, but I do like the balance of the, even though it's a lighter slide, it kind of behaves like a heavier slide, and it doesn't have to be as bulky and heavy. Whereas like for the glass ones, they kind of have a little more weight to them, or bulk to them, I should say. This one, it actually feels like they're pretty much more or less the same weight. This one has a little bit more bulk though, to be able to get the weight for it maybe. But you might be able to find other glass ones that would mimic. All right, I think I'm going to call it there. I don't know if I was super helpful in that one, but still working on this. So thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to see if I can add some highlights to this and upload them in more formal videos. But thank you for watching.